You've worked hard to build a dream retirement. Now it's time to put that plan into action. This is Retire ATL with Aaron Vincent and Matt Decker. The team at Vincent Financial wants to help you build, protect, and grow income to get you to and through retirement. Now, Retire ATL with Aaron Vincent and Matt Decker.
This is the Retire ATL podcast, all powered by the Vincent Financial Group. You can get more when you visit retireatlradio.com. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for downloading. Now, let's get to the show.
Aaron Vincent, Matthew Decker, not just on the 4th of July, but all year we are celebrating 250 of America.
Made in America.
We have an excuse to shoot fireworks all summer now.
That's right.
Wait, not just one weekend, the entire summer. We continue the celebration. And as we celebrate America 250, this is something that you do every day at the Vincent Financial Group. You help adults find their financial independence. Walk me through that.
We definitely do. Before we go there, though, I just want to say, you mentioning fireworks has me remembering my childhood. And this is going to be sad news for some of you listeners out there, but I'm just going to say, y'all are spoiled here in the South.
Yep.
I grew up in the North, in Illinois, and I just think that you all need to know that the only fireworks that were legal and approved in the state of Illinois were sparklers.
Oh, really?
This is not a joke.
That's
Sparklers.
a party. That's a party right there.
Sparklers. Okay, so like 4th
No
of
smoke
July.
bombs?
No.
No Whisker Biscuits?
No. 4th of July
No
for me
snakes?
growing up was like you could get sparklers at your local, grocery chain, but if you wanted to get anything that went boom, you had to drive into Indiana and you had to buy your fireworks there. And then even when you brought them back into Illinois, if you were setting them off, someone is going to call the cops, some Karen's going to call the police, they're going to show up and they're going to steal all your fireworks. And so growing up, I had to befriend the local police officers who confiscated all the fireworks. And they would put on little shows, like out in the in the fields.
The nice dry cornfields.
Exactly. And so we had to find all right, who was the cop that, had confiscated the good fireworks over from Indiana? And let's see if we can, watch this. But no, it's just sprinklers. Just sprinklers.
Sparklers.
Sparklers.
Sprinklers and
Well, that's
sparklers.
fair, though.
Just
Yeah, a little bit of
sparklers.
Yeah, but
Sparklers? Sprinklers. Sparklers. Just the sparklers growing
we
up.
used the sprinkler to put out the forest fire
That's
caused
all
by
we
the
had.
sparklers.
That's all we had.
Hey, we didn't have them here in Georgia until about 10 years ago. We had to drive to Alabama. That's why when you cross the Georgia-Alabama line, there's all these little, fireworks shacks.
Interesting. I didn't
set
know
up.
that.
Yeah. It's been about 10 years until you get the good stuff.
Yeah.
The real good stuff. We always have a big fireworks show in the neighborhood. And it started during COVID. And we just got all the families together and we pulled our money together and said, all right, let's just have some fun for the kids since we can't go anywhere. And that has grown until the whole neighborhood shows up in my buddy's backyard and we spend probably $3,000 on fireworks. And it's a whole show. It's like a 20-minute show.
Love that.
Yeah.
My neighborhood, there's about 5 different families who more or less compete, unofficially compete. Like who can do it bigger? That house, that house, that house. Like which one's going to be the one that wins this year? That's a lot of fun. But I think the new thing is drone show. You seen a drone show yet?
Yeah.
Like synchronized drones. They're that's
Creeps me
impressive.
out.
Until they lose power and they start dropping on people. That happened in Australia or something. Yeah. And then there's always that random person that gets a little too excited and they want to celebrate Independence Day on June 30th. So it's happy June 30th. Let's go ahead and shoot off half of our stock of fireworks.
And here's your Christmas present.
Hey, look, after all those years of doing the neighborhood fireworks show, I've still got them all.
Look at that. All your fingers.
Still got them all. So with that being said, let's talk about it. Financial independence. Where does it start?
I think you got to know what you want to a certain extent. We have a lot of people that come into our office, and one of the questions we ask them is, let's talk about what your retirement looks like. So let's fast forward and, in your mind, kind of close your eyes and describe, let's say it's your last day of work and then a month later. The first month is just find
Breathing room.
Yeah, breathing room, find your footing, all the stuff. Probably some yard work you got to get done that you've been putting off and all the things. But a month into it, you've got enough time to let the dust settle, describe what you want your days to look like. And that is harder than you would expect for most people, rightfully so, because, for the most of them, they've been working for upwards of 40 years plus to get to this point. And so to imagine life without that 40 plus hours a week dictating how you spend your time, that's a tough thing to do. But we have to arrive at least what do you want that to look like to a certain extent. Analogies are helpful. And so we talk in terms of Your retirement's a roadmap. It's a journey. If you're going to go anywhere on a road trip, if you're going to go any place, I don't care if it's a long, long road trip or kind of a shorter one, you better have 2 points of data. You better have your current address where you sit right now, where you're starting from, and the address where you want to go. It doesn't matter what method. Are you old school? You like to use road maps, or do you like to use your GPS in your car? You want to phone a friend? Doesn't matter. You better have those 2 points of data or nobody can help you. You're just kind of aimlessly wandering in circles hoping it works out, right? Well, that is what we have to avoid. And so not that it has to be the kind of end result where you have it dialed in when you're 62 and trying to retire. You know exactly what you're going to do when you're 75. I'm not saying that, but what do you want your life to look like? Because only then can we back into all the other questions that come from that, like how much risk should I be taking? How much money do I need? What rate of return is necessary for me to live the life I want? Well, we can answer all those questions if you can kind of give us that A and that B. And so the first question in getting to financial freedom is, what do you want your days to look like? And then from there, it's amazing how much work we can do.
For me, yeah, we're thinking about financial independence. Well, sometimes it helps me to think about what's the opposite of that. What would be financial dependence? So I'm thinking about like my boys. You know, my boys are 13, 11, and 9.
They're still dependent.
Can you believe this? I mean, gosh, how much longer?
Yeah, back in my day, I had 4 jobs.
Aaron did when he was, what? How old were you when you got your first job?
My first outside the house job, I was 11.
Exactly. See, my kids are just slacking.
The number
You're
gets
11
lower
years
every
old.
year. Every year I tell the story, it gets lower.
Next year it'll be 10.
That's right.
He was a taxi driver.
Yeah.
My boys are financially dependent upon me, and they will be for some time. And so when you're thinking about retirement, well, what would it look like to be financially dependent? Maybe on a job, maybe on someone else. And so if you're trying to be financially independent, it just means that you don't really rely on anybody else to live the retirement life that you want to live. And to Aaron's point, that's really hard for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I think it's hard for a lot of people because you're probably going to fall into one or two traps as it relates to being financially independent. And that is the 2 ditches on the side of the road. And we talk about this often. On one side of the road, Aaron used the analogy of a road map, point A to point B. You're on a journey. Well, along your journey, there's 2 ditches on the side of the road. You got fear on one side and you got greed on the other. And the idea is to stay out of both of those ditches.
Yep.
Quick story. This is probably going back a month. We had someone come into one of our educational workshops that we were doing, loved it, came into the office and just kind of laid out his whole financial situation. He was looking for some help. He's recently retired. And as we kind of dig into what he wants life to look like, he kind of has a picture of what he wants his retirement life to look like, but it's not super well defined. And this is someone who you would think would know kind of what they wanted to do. He's had a long time to think about it. He's got passions that he wants to pursue. And we couldn't really pull it out of him. Like, what is it that you want retirement to look like? And finally, we figure out that he's spending something like $3,500 a month. And that's way below his means. He had something like $2 million, $2.2 million. And he's spending like $3,500 a month. And we figured out that in his mind, that's all he could afford. He's like, I'm trying to keep my expenses low, $3,500 a month. And he was having trouble defining what retirement looked like because he was falling into that fear ditch. Mm-hmm. He was worried that he was going to run out of money. He was worried that he hadn't done a good enough job and that his $2.2 million wasn't going to last. And he was trying to minimize his lifestyle and he couldn't see it. All he's thinking is, I got to live small and make sure that this works, make sure that this lasts. And because that was his mindset, he couldn't see it. And so he was totally able to be financially independent, but emotionally, he couldn't get himself there. And we see this all the time, where you might actually have the means to be financially independent. Like the math would say that you're there. You've already done everything that you need to do to retire when and how you want.
Yep.
And yet, some people emotionally, they're still either falling prey to one of these 2 ditches, fear or greed. In his case, it was the fear ditch. And we showed him some of basically the plan that we built for him alleviated so much of that fear for him. We showed him, hey, you're spending way below your means. Like you can actually spend more like, $9,000, $10,000, $11,000 a month. And he's like, what? We're like, yeah. And we showed him how and where it would come from and how it would work. And he was looking at me, and I just said, I can tell that you don't believe me.
Yeah.
Like I see your face looking at me right now, and I can tell you don't believe me. And he looked back at me, and he's like, I don't believe you. I'm like, all right, well, let's go through it again. So we go through it again. Here's where it's going to come from. Here's what it looks like. Here's how it's going to work. Here's how we're going to do this. And I'm like, but I can tell you still don't believe me. And he's like, I want to believe you, but I just don't. I've been living with this $3,500 a month mindset for so long that I don't believe you. Finally, we get to the point where he's like, okay, I see it. I believe you. How fast can we make this happen? And it's all of a sudden, once you get there emotionally and once you see it, now all of a sudden he could very clearly define what he wanted his retirement to look like. He had all kinds of plans. I would just say, if that's you, if you're having a hard time kind of seeing what retirement might look like, if you're struggling with falling into that fear ditch, you're worried that your money's not going to outlive you, that you're going to run out of money. Or maybe you got FOMO. You're worried about missing out and you're chasing gains, and you may not need to be chasing gains. I would tell you should call us, 770-741-0120. We've built our process to alleviate all those concerns, whether you're falling prey to fear, falling prey to greed, or whether you can't define what you think retirement should or what you want it to look like. These are all things that we help with, 770-741-0120.
Because the real question is, how do you know where you are? Most people cannot say, hey, I've saved this much and this was going to be the taxable reality for me into my retirement, and this is how much income I can afford to take, and I've stress tested it to make sure that, if my husband does pass away earlier than I expected, or if I do, my kids are taken care of, or if, the markets don't cooperate with timing, or whatever the thing is that's in your mind, I know how that stressor is going to impact my retirement portfolio, and I know what I will do to respond. Most people cannot answer those questions. That's not taught in school. Your HR department that handles your 401k is not going to give you that lesson. It's just not common knowledge. And so how do you know where you are? And so there are things that we sometimes do. I'll take, Matt, the story you just told, and, kind of add to it. We've had clients before, and I don't prescribe this to everyone because there can be some tax sort of consequences to doing this, but we can all admit, whether it's money or anything in life, your experience, like what you have experienced, what you've seen and actually been through, is always heavier and holds more kind of gravity in your mind than what you're told, like hypothetical, like what you've experienced and what you've felt and what you've seen and what you've touched, like actual life experience is always going to carry more weight than someone's theory, some guy talking on the radio.
Said another way, if Aaron and I sit down together and I'm coming to Aaron and I'm sharing with him my fears and my hopes and my dreams and my lived experience, it's going to be heavier for me than it is for Aaron hearing it.
Right.
And
exactly.
He's going to be able to provide a ton of clarity for me because he's not in it. He's not like, oh, I remember how that felt. And so it's so much easier for Aaron to diagnose these things than for me.
And so we meet with people all the time, just like Matt's recent story just now, that are living on an amount or expecting to only be able to afford a certain amount per month, when in reality, their portfolio can provide way more than that. And so, but me just telling you that, hopefully it means something, but it's not going to be as influential as life experience. So what we've done before for some of these folks is to say, you know what, you're not retired yet. You haven't pulled the trigger. And we are telling you that your portfolio can kick out whatever, $15,000 a month for the rest of your life, even after stress testing for taxes and market volatility and interest rates. And so you haven't pulled the trigger yet for retirement because you're nervous. Why don't we go ahead and begin? Why don't we have a few months of you actually taking distributions from your portfolio as if you were retired? Meanwhile, you're still working. Now, you're listening, you realize like that's double income. Isn't that kind of crazy? And there are some tax consequences to that. But what it does is it provides an experience, a lived experience. You see your retirement portfolio providing for you an income. All of a sudden, you wake up on whatever date per month you want those distributions to hit you. It's a deposit into your account. Oh, then you go and you log into your retirement portfolio dashboard with us, and you're like, oh, it didn't go down. This might work, And so we've done things even to that extent where we actually kind of execute a retirement income portfolio distribution to show you what it would be like before you're actually retired. The point of all this is just to say that there are ways where you can see around the corner. You can even feel, not just hear in theory, you can see using our planning tools what retirement will look like for you. Where are those dollars going to come from? And what's the consequence of taking dollars out, et cetera, et cetera. That, to me, is a significant piece of financial independence or financial freedom. It's not this hypothetical hoping it works out. That's not freedom for anybody.
Yeah.
It's seeing it, it's feeling it, it's experiencing what's possible.
Again, we created a process, and that's really what we're inviting you into. Every week, we're trying to invite you into a process where you can get your questions answered, where you can alleviate your concerns surrounding fear or greed, where you can kind of map out what retirement looks like. Where are you right now? Where are you trying to get to? Financial independence is one of those things that many of you have already achieved. There's so many of you listening that have already achieved financial independence. And I guess my question would be, if you had achieved financial independence, how soon would you want to know? If you had achieved it, how soon would you want to know? The easy answer is I'd want to know as soon as possible, because there are a lot of you who would be living your life differently if you knew that you had already achieved financial independence. A lot of you would change the thing that you're doing right now. There are people that would put in a 2-week notice if they knew that they had already done enough to achieve financial independence. There are people who would stop working for a paycheck and they would start working for a passion if they knew that they had already achieved financial independence. There are people who would start funding grandkids' 529 plans if they knew that they had already achieved financial independence. And so we kind of view it, our job is to release you from your fears and concerns, or at least provide context around what's possible for you and your money. Money is a tool, and our job as good stewards of that money is to use it like it's a tool and to tell it where to go. And if we don't tell it where to go, it's just going to sit there and it's going to do nothing for us. And we've had clients that have come into our office, years into retirement, and they have basically not spent anything. They haven't told their money where it needs to go. And so it's just sat there. And it hasn't really done anything for them except become a source of stress, honestly. Because if you're not telling it where to go, it just builds, and then it becomes a thing that you got to watch. And we don't want that for you. What we're inviting you into is a process where we sit down, we talk about where you are right now, where you want to go. We identify some of the stressors or some of the challenges, roadblocks that might be between where you are and where you want to go, and show you how we can alleviate some of those concerns. Give our office a call, 770-741-0120. You can also go to retireatlradio.com.
One of the saddest things, or the biggest bummers, I should say, that I see on a regular basis is when people come into our office and they have done enough. And, the expectations that they have, or the goals that they have, I should say, for retirement, practically they've achieved what they need to achieve from a savings amount and from a kind of getting your life in order to where you know what you're spending, for example. You can actually balance the equation. People have done enough to balance the equation, and yet they're still living in this realm of kind of stress and anxiety and fear and wondering. And
super common.
Time is just going by.
Yeah.
Like I read a quote, we've all heard this quote before, but time is the only resource that we spend, and we don't know the balance of it, right? It's the only one. Everything else in life is you're kind of measuring what you're spending based on what the balance that you have left is, whether that's food in the fridge or it's dollars in the bank or it's gas in your gas tank, whatever it is. Time's the only one that we spend we don't know the balance of. And so it's one of those things where it's like, man, that's the one thing you can't get back. You can't make more of. And yet that's the one I see, for lack of a better term, wasted the most on, and not just wasted, but the math is done. The work is done. And yet you're still in that realm. And to your point, when would you want to know? And so there are some pretty practical things. There are some pretty low-hanging fruit type of things. They're not super complex financial planning principles and really expensive tools required. No, this is like just having a guided conversation with someone. That's what we do. That starts the process of thinking through what would it look like for you. And that's independence. Knowing what your options are, and then formulating a plan around those options. Is there a better definition of independence? So what we're not saying is that, we can just kind of create this out of scratch for you. No, but you can know what's around the corner.
What was the quote you just said?
Time is the only, I'm going to botch it.
I want you to botch it.
Time is the only resource that we have where we're spending it and we don't know what the balance is.
I like that. I was watching a movie with my boys this last weekend, and another quote, kind of to piggyback off of that, we were watching The Adam Project, which is a pretty good movie. But the quote, I guess it was the Romans would say, "It's later than you think." And I like that too. They kind of go well together, right? It's later than you think. If you think that you've got all the time in the world to do these plans, to make plans, to get your ducks in a row, I would just say it's probably later than you think. Yeah. And if you are in the boat of already having done enough, my goodness, if there was ever a time to get your ducks in a row, it would be when you've already done enough. Because if you've already done enough, what that means is you don't really stand to gain anything anymore. You've already done enough. If you've already done enough to accomplish all your hopes and dreams and leave the legacy that you want to leave and spend the money that you want to spend and golf where you want to golf, if you've already done enough, then you're kind of at that point where not having your ducks in a row, oh my goodness. Like the only thing that can happen from here is that it gets messed up because it's already there.
Right.
It's already there for the taking. I would just say time may be later than you think. You should give our office a call. We'd love to chat with you. 770-741-0120.
And the only other thing is maybe you haven't quite done enough yet. Maybe you're not quite there, but you don't even know how much more you have to do. Maybe you're close. You might feel like you're only halfway done when really you're 90% done or whatever. That not knowing that you've done enough is one thing. And then not even knowing how much left you have to do. I mean, you can know. It's amazing. And a lot of folks just don't know that. They feel like it's a hypothetical, unanswerable equation, but we're here to tell you it's what we do. You can know.
Insurance products are offered through the Insurance Business Advanced Planning Group. Vincent Financial Group is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Advanced Planning Group are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Advanced Planning Group and IPW are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be constructed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Vincent Financial Group is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained by sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Vincent Financial Group. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. This podcast is a paid placement.